Hey, what is going on, everybody out there? This is Jakejames Lugo. Welcome to the channel and welcome to this brand new episode of JJ's First 20. We're going to be talking about and taking a look at Guilty Gear Strive. Right now I'm playing this on the PlayStation 5, but you can get it on the PlayStation 4 and also on PC. I have to give a big shout out to Arc System Works for sending this game over to me to check out for you guys kind of early before its initial release. The game comes out on June 7th with the Ultimate Edition, and then it's going to come out a few days later with, I believe, is the Standard Edition. But I was able to get a code from Arc System Works early to check out the game and give my overall impressions and my thoughts about the latest in the Guilty Gear franchise. Now, you guys know I was part of the beta for Guilty Gear Strive a while back, where I did play that on PlayStation 4, but now playing on the PlayStation 5, I'm glad I'm able to mess around with it on the latest hardware. So, much like, beforehand, this is a little bit of an unorthodox JJ's First 20, where you guys are going to be looking at mostly gameplay as opposed to me on camera, so you guys get to see Guilty Gear Strive in its full glory running on a PlayStation 5, but I just wanted to give my overall thoughts with this with my VO. So, what do I overall think about this game? Now, the main thing that you guys have to understand is because I'm checking out this game early, I'm checking it out before release, I don't have access to all the different stuff that's out there in the game right now. So specifically the network stuff, which is like the online multiplayer and a lot of stuff involving online matches, that wasn't available to us right now, currently at the moment. I'm probably going to do a separate video about the online capabilities for Guilty Gear Strive, which would be a little bit more traditional. But in addition to that, I was able to check out most of the offline modes, including the arcade, including the versus CPU stuff, survival, the dojo, which is pretty much the training mode, and a little bit of multiplayer. You're not going to see all of that here on camera because I can only show you guys so much because it's before release, but you guys will get most of like the general thoughts that I have about this, because everything that I say about Guilty Gear Strive could be pretty much applied to everything about this game, with the exception of the story mode, which brings me to my other thing. I can't show you any of you guys the story mode stuff because it's early. That's part of the embargo restrictions, but as the game comes out, once the online modes are on, I'll give you guys some of my thoughts about story mode, which is going to be pretty beefy. We only had access to a little bit of the stuff with story mode, not the full thing because of it being prior to release. There's going to be a day one update for the game that's going to add in a bunch of different stuff, including some changes, some online stability things, and of course everything else involving the story and some of the other modes. One thing I will say about the story mode section, which this is nothing involving spoilers, and I'm not going to show you guys anything specifically that will spoil anything. What I do love is this GG World option that it has in the story mode section that is not only a glossary but also a correlation and a chronology of everything going on with the entire Guilty Gear franchise. I really love this, especially this is helpful for people that aren't really into Guilty Gear. They probably never played the original Guilty Gear, or they probably never even played Accent Core. I think most people that are into Guilty Gear have probably played most of the games, if not all of them, but there are people out there that haven't really messed with this stuff and are probably coming into Strive as the first time, or their first game was Guilty Gear Zerd on the PlayStation 4 or any other consoles. But I love that this chronology covers the entire series. It gives you all the different details about the story, about the characters. It gives you a relationship grid that shows you who exactly is related to who actually is important to who's got beef, who's got, a blood feud, and all these different things. And I love stuff like that because it's just something you could just reference. Like if you're just confused about certain things going on with the story, or if you just want to learn more about a specific character that you play, I think that is awesome. Now, getting on to the gameplay proper, the actual fighting, which is pretty much what you guys have been looking at the entire time as I've been talking. The gameplay and the fights themselves are awesome. I love the visuals of Guilty Gear Strive. I really dig this whole anime 3D style aesthetic, which really started with Guilty Gear Zerd, and then it kind of transferred over to Dragon Ball FighterZ, and now we got it with Guilty Gear Strive. We've seen it with other fighters as well, including, I believe, Grand Blue Fantasy follows a similar motif. But I really love how this looks here with just the whole aesthetic of Guilty Gear, it being like super heavy metal, super hardcore, over-exaggerated characters, and just an over-exaggerated atmosphere of just everything dialed up to 20 on the scale of 1 to 10. I really dig that, and I just think it looks really good with the anime characters, following a lot of the animation properties of anime, like 2D animation that you would get in any sort of like Adult Swim or just like traditional anime, but just transferred over to 3D space. It just looks good, it feels good, it just flows really nicely. And of course, I love the music. You got to talk about the music of Guilty Gear, because Guilty Gear's music is some top-notch stuff. You might not even be into hardcore heavy metal music or just rock in general, but you got to admit, with all the visuals and all the craziness and the effects going on with Guilty Gear, the music just matches up, and just the backgrounds are gorgeous. There's a lot of awesome little details you could spot in the backgrounds that are behind the action that, again, no matter how many times you play this, you're not going to catch everything in one run. It just looks fantastic. Now, as far as the fighting itself when it comes to controls, this Guilty Gear game feels very similar to Guilty Gear Xrd with a couple little tweaks here and there, but it just feels good overall. I love that there's a button, which is, I believe is R1, that allows you to do a number of different things, including go into like this, pop-up where you're able to hit a character and then go up into a pop-up in the air and do like different combos and stuff, while at the same time you could also use that same button to throw, depending on which direction that you put it on, and also do a universal sweep, which I really like how every character in this game, they have their unique moves and their unique, tech and stuff, but there is some universal mechanics and universal tools at their disposal, which really mixes up the matchups and it puts everybody on a nice even playing field. Granted, obviously, as this game is in the wild, there's still going to be other stuff that kind of, sets up a tier list and shows like certain characters are better than others, but for now, at launch, or at least at the time when this game is coming out on release, I feel like there's going to be a lot of good, balanced matchups between characters as people discover and start to mess around with different characters on the roster. Speaking of which, I really dig the roster. I think the roster is very kind of, fleshed out. There's obviously some characters from the Guilty Gear franchise who are not here yet, and the cool thing is that we are going to get DLC. For this game. There is a character pass that if you ended up getting the Ultimate Edition, you got this season pass where you're going to get a number of different characters, and Arc System Works has talked about how they have a game plan, they have at least a good map, leading into the end of the year, into next year, of different stuff that they're going to add to the game. I think we're going to get about 3 to 5 different characters, if I'm not mistaken. I know they have it on their website that you guys could definitely check out, but you could expect some new characters very soon, which is pretty awesome. And this roster is going to get really meaty. It's going to get nice. But what we have here as the basic roster, I love some of these characters. Like, obviously, I'm a Kai Kisuke guy. I'm a real big fan of Kai Kisuke. I've always played him in all the games. Of course, Soul Bad Guy. I really dig the look of Faust. I always thought he was one of the coolest looking characters, and his idle animations are dope. And again, I just also want to give some shout outs to Ino, which I think Ino looks great. She has a little bit of a tweak to her character design here and there, but of course also there's Potemkin, which is a big fan favorite, and many other characters on this roster look fantastic. Like I said before, just the 3D anime or 3D 2D anime style and the stuff that's applied to this with the visuals just looks freaking awesome in this engine. It looks really dope. Now, a couple other things I guess I can mention here. There is a collection of stuff, like a gallery, that also has like a fishing mini game. I didn't really explore too much of that because you have to play through a lot of the different modes to unlock many of the things there, but you get like concept art, you get character trailers, you get other special movies. Of course, you got the different like fishing mini game, which allows you to get different unlockables, which you could use towards your character profile on the online modes, or you could use it for other different things here and there. Again, stuff not really I'm going to get into because a lot of that stuff we don't have access to at the current moment. One other thing I should mention that I think will be a nice good way to kind of wrap everything up here, the tutorial stuff in the dojo I think is fantastic. I really like when fighting games have a really comprehensive and really helpful tutorial menu or just training area where not only you can have a tutorial for the basic stuff like the basic mechanics and the universal stuff between all the characters, but there's also a mission mode and a free training mode, which again gives you a lot of options if you want to take your game to the next level for competitive play, either online or offline, or if you want to take on all these different missions, which they really kind of increase the difficulty as you go through them. There's, some of the basic stuff like jumping and dashing and such, but then you get into some really tough things involving different situations, different character matchups. I really like stuff like that. It just gives you options to mess around with your game and it helps you get better over time. So overall, my full thoughts about Guilty Gear Strive, I'm really digging what I played so far. Of course, I'm going to dive more into the story mode at some point, and like I mentioned, I'll probably do a separate video showing all the different online mode stuff, like including the stuff that we saw in the beta when Guilty Gear Strive had its beta a while back, but then I'll also talk about my comments and my overall thoughts about the story mode eventually as that stuff starts to unlock and people start to check it out, and we're able to talk more about spoiler stuff or just, give overall impressions of how the story is for Guilty Gear Strive. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the gameplay that you were looking at. And of course, my thoughts overall about Guilty Gear Strive. Like I mentioned, I did play this on a PlayStation 5, but you can get it on PS4 and also on PC. Again, big shout outs to Arc System Works for sending me the game to check out for all of you. Let me know your overall thoughts about Guilty Gear Strive down in the comments below. Don't forget to leave a like on this video and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. And of course, my reviews and a whole bunch of other great gaming content I know you're going to love. And don't forget to make sure you guys join my Discord server. There'll be a link not only in the description box, but also in the pinned comment of this video, so you guys could come join the Discord server, be part of the community. There's a whole section there for fighting games, so you could talk about Guilty Gear, you could talk about any other game out there, and there's all these other sections that I know you guys will love. So check it out when you can. And with that being said, I will talk to all of you again very soon. Peace out, and stay epic, everybody.